Dr. Anita Smith and her colleagues conducted an insightful study over a group of college students. In this study, American college students became members of an online chat platform, and they were led to believe they were interacting and chatting with others in the online environment. Then, they were excluded and rejected by other perceived participants. No one responded to their messages anymore, and no one replied to their comments and questions. All the other participants seemed to be engaged in the conversation, but the participants in the study had been made social isolates. Then the researchers started measuring the level of negative feelings and also self-esteem in them. They discovered that negative feelings developed in them within only 8 minutes of being informed of their exclusion. And levels of self-esteem, control, and belongingness decreased in them remarkably. They concluded, as Abraham Maslow said, sense of belonging is one of the key needs of human being, and not satisfying that need can have important consequences on our behavior and feelings. Abraham Maslow is one of the great psychologists who spent his entire life on studying successful and influential people. He believed that if we want to know the real power of human being, we must study creative, independent, self-sufficient, and fulfilled adults, not only clinical patients or mentally disturbed people. Maslow's childhood was a really awful experience. He told an interviewer, "With my childhood, it's a wonder that I'm not psychotic." In another statement found in his unpublished papers years after his death, Maslow had written, "My family was a miserable family, and my mother was a horrible creature." Maslow said that his father loved whiskey, women, and fighting. At a large family gathering, his father pointed to the boy and said, "Isn't Abraham the ugliest kid you've ever seen?" He always humiliated Abraham in front of others. And about his mother, when Maslow once brought home 2 stray kittens, his mother killed them in front of him by bashing their heads against the wall. Maslow never forgave her, and when she died many years later, he even refused to go to her funeral. He remembered his teenage years as marked by a huge inferiority complex. He said somewhere, "I was all alone in the world. I felt peculiar. This was really in my blood, a very profound feeling that somehow I was wrong. Never any feelings that I was superior." Good to know in adulthood, Maslow scored 195 in an IQ test, which described as within the genius range. For the first time in the world, he proposed a hierarchy of 5 and 8 needs that activate and direct human behavior. Those 5 and 8 needs are physiological, safety, belongingness and love, self-esteem, and self-actualization needs. According to him, we all come equipped with these needs at birth. However, the behaviors we use to satisfy these needs are learned, and therefore different from one person to another. The needs are arranged in order, from strongest at the bottom to the weakest at the top. It means that lower needs must be at least partially satisfied before higher needs become influential. For example, hungry people feel no urge to satisfy the higher need for self-esteem. Hence, we are not driven by all the needs at the same time. In general, only one need will dominate our personality at any one point in time. Which one it will be depends on which of the others have been satisfied. For example, people who are successful in their careers are no longer driven by their physiological and safety needs. If an economic recession causes some people to lose their jobs, then the safety and physiological needs may reassume priority. Being able to pay the mortgage becomes more prized than popularity with colleagues or an award from a civic organization. According to Maslow, the lower needs in the hierarchy are more crucial and essential, and failure to satisfy them produces a deficit or lack in the individual. But higher needs are less necessary for actual survival, and their gratification can be postponed. Although failure to satisfy a higher need does not produce a crisis, they can contribute to our personal growth. Satisfaction of higher needs leads to improved health, happiness, contentment, fulfillment, and longevity. Conversely, not satisfying the higher needs would cause us feel inferior, helpless, and discouraged with little confidence in our ability to cope. That is why Maslow called higher needs growth or being needs. Self-esteem is one of them. Without self-esteem, you can survive, but you cannot thrive. As we saw in the experiment, and based on what Maslow showed us, self-esteem comes from sense of belonging, sense of love and being loved. Sense of being important to someone, some people, or a group of individuals. It is different from self-confidence. Self-confidence is mainly depending on your skills and achievement, but the self-esteem mostly depends on the quality of your relationship with others. According to the studies conducted in such diverse countries as the Netherlands, Serbia, Hong Kong, and Korea, those who have excessive use of social media tend to be more lonely and low in self-esteem than those who use it less. Alfred Adler, one of the influential psychologists, explained in his theory that our relationship with other people not only can determine the level of our self-esteem, but also it can affect whole our life, career, and happiness. Adler was the first person who coined the term social interest, and later many researchers showed that those who are high in social interest have less stress, depression, anxiety, and hostility than those who are low in social interest. Adler also explained that sense of inferiority is one of the key elements which affects our self-esteem, and everyone finds a way in their life to cope with that. He described how people decide to get along with others and cope with the sense of inferiority. He explained different ways that people choose to avoid this sense of inferiority and how these ways impact their personality and behaviors and lead them to a specific lifestyle which forms their entire life. Stay with us if you want to know what those ways are.